We can do this all day. Meanwhile, Trump, please open the strait. Please, 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 please open it, please. Meanwhile, Iran. Yeah, we're good. We're good on opening it, bro. We're good. We're good. JD Vance going to Iran and then failing in negotiations and saying, well, this is just the first round, maybe the second round or the third or maybe the fourth round. I don't know. Why did I start doing a Trump impression in the middle of a JD Vance impression? I've never claimed to be great at impressions. So let's start here.
Well, good morning, everybody. And let me say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement. And I think that's bad news for Iran, much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back.
Sure. Clueless. It's much worse for the Iranians.
To the United States, having not come to an agreement, we've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could. And they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Sir, Nick Robertson from CNN. Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we've negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is,
what? Yeah, but we've also said that about literally everything that they... Sorry, let me clarify. It feels hard to trust what the president, what the vice president, what any of the cabinet members say about what and what hasn't been destroyed in Iran and which of their capabilities have been destroyed or not destroyed. When Trump has on multiple occasions, Caroline Leavitt has said on multiple occasions that we've completely decimated their military capabilities. And that they're running out of ammunition or they're running out of capabilities and they're running out of like drones and all this other stuff. And then they strike down another fucking F-35 or they strike down another F-15. What?
Do we see...
He literally just said that they have had and corrected himself mid-sentence.
A fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term. We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Was there a framework on anything? And also, did the Iranian frozen assets come up? And did you reach any conclusions on those frozen assets?
We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that, and unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston,
your best effort.
President, how often did you?
Is the reporter who threw a shoe at Bush still around? We need him again. Classic leftists want extreme violence. You want him to get brutally frame-mogged by a shoe to death. I can't believe this.
Communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations. There are reports that there were multiple rounds where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said fell short?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
Our final and best offer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where does this leave the Strait of Hormuz?
Did you go back to Prime Minister Netanyahu at all today? What about the Strait of Hormuz?
The chiming. It's so amazing. Please open the strait, please. The fact that Americans tried to sneak 2 tankers through the straits while talks were still ongoing might have been what led the Iranians to decline these talks. No, you don't think it was maybe the fact that we had 2 diplomatic talks that were canceled because we decided to strike Iran? Here's the most recent, most recent essay from Trump. So there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not effective immediately. The United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. How are you guys going to be the ones who start blocking the Strait of Hormuz? You can't fire me. I quit. I quit before you fired me. I don't care. I don't care if you actually fired me and then I quit. You can't fire me. I'm quitting. You can't block the Strait of Hormuz. I'm blocking the Strait of Hormuz. I'm going to block it. If I'm the one doing it, you can't do it. Are we serious? Their only move is to do nothing and then take all the credit for the group project. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere, but that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion. Famously, the United States has never done that to any country ever. Cuba. This is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. Really, the strategy is what? To start bombing Chinese tankers? Yeah, I'd love to see that, dude. Okay. For sure. Yeah, good luck with that, bro. Good luck with that, for sure. The U.S. going to war with China. Fuck off, bro. Literally fuck off. Speedrunning World War. There's no universe where the U.S. does that. This is going to be my iconic Hassan Piker moment that Russia would never invade the United States. Or sorry, invade. Gulpa? What do I know? That Russia would never invade Ukraine. This is going to be my moment where it's like the U.S. is never going to shoot down or fire at a Chinese tanker. That would be all-out war. There's no universe where we do that to China. And I'm going to be wrong. Like tomorrow, we're going to start firing at Chinese tankers, and I'm going to look like a fucking idiot. No, they would be fucking idiots then. I mean, everybody I think agrees that would be fucking insane. It would be fucking insane. Would it even matter if you're wrong at that point? I mean... You're manifesting my love with all due respect. Please shut up, I beg. At least there would be no one left alive to know you were wrong. Denims, I woke up an hour ago from a dream where I was a White House staffer and Trump would not stop whining and complaining like a maniac. I think what you meant to write is, you misspelled nightmare. I think that's what you misspelled. Okay, continuing. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell. Iran knows better than anyone how to end this situation, which has already devastated their country. Their navy is gone. Their air force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khamenei and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. The blockade will begin shortly. Other countries will be involved in this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at any appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. President Donald J. Trump. Just, yeah. So how many, what are we at? What count are we at? What are we at right now? Just really quickly. On times that Trump has said, we have totally destroyed their Navy and their Air Force. I'm just curious. Don't worry, Denims, Trump can always make any situation worse. That's true. So in other words, now instead of Iran closing the strait, the U.S. is. Slow clap. Yeah, masterfully done. Cinema. Absolutely cinema. Okay, and then he quote tweeted it to say even more. Someone please put me out of my misery, man. Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so. This caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. They say they put mines in the water, even though all of their navy and most of their mine droppers have been completely blown up. They may have done so, but what ship owner would want to take that chance? There is great dishonor and permanent harm to the reputation of Iran and what is left of their leaders, but we are getting beyond all of that. As they promised, they better begin the process of getting this international waterway open and fast. Every law in the book is being violated by them. That is so incredible to say when the U.S. has committed war crime after war crime in the past month against Iran. Amazing. Just literally, this is so peak. Accuse the country that is not doing anything. Accuse what you are doing, accuse the country that is not doing it of doing it. Incredible. Amazing. Do you think that they're blockading it now because they saw China trying to broker peace and they thought they can use China's worries as leverage? No, I don't think China is even trying to broker peace. I think China is benefiting from. Okay, let me say my personal opinions. China has been on the fast track, entering as a world leader and a world power for the past, I would say, 4 decades. There have been massive initiatives to try and propel China into the world economy as a leader. And now that they've finally done that and proven that they can do that, the only other thing left to do is to show that the other nations in the world are worse or more pathetic. That's the only other way to do it other than war, right? And why would China want to go to war? It's such a waste of resources. If you actually care about infrastructure and improving the lives of the people that live in your country, going to war is a massive waste of taxpayer dollars. It's a massive waste of money. It's a massive waste of lives. And it's a massive waste of social capital with the rest of the world. So China doesn't really have a strong prerogative or a strong reason to go to war with other countries for literally no reason. Other than what? Dominance. The only other thing is to make other countries look pathetic like the United States. And the U.S. is the only other major world power comparable to China. So they're benefiting heavily from being one of the few parties in this conflict that has been very reasonable and is saying, listen, what is between Iran and the United States? We have nothing to do with that. We trade with Iran. We trade with the United States. We're going to get our oil and we're going to step out. All right? We're just going to get our oil. We're going to step out. The fact that the U.S. keeps shooting itself in the foot over and over and over again is very beneficial to China. China wants this to last as long as possible because, yes, the oil prices are, it's a global market, so oil prices are still going to go up in China as well, even though they're getting oil because the price of it is determined by the global market. But at the end of the day, they're still getting the energy that they need, and they've been spending a lot of money and a lot of infrastructure and a lot of years building green renewable energy. So there's a lot of speculation that they're pressuring Iran to go to the table to make a deal to get most of their oil from GCC countries. Not true. We in the Netherlands have 3 minesweepers and are also a world power contender. So yeah, I think that a big part of it for China is that it's a huge win-win for China. If this conflict continues for a long period of time, they're still getting the power that they need, and they're still being seen as a reasonable party that isn't trying to escalate tensions for no reason. And also, if they force Iran to come to the table And by force, I mean say, okay, that's enough pain for the United States. I think we've humiliated the United States enough. You know what, Iran? The Persian cats may open the strait. We will provide you all the aid you need. You should open the strait. Great. It makes China look even more powerful. The US, in all of its power and all of its military capabilities, was incapable of getting Iran to agree to anything. And China, with the most mild wind, the most mild pressure, was capable of pushing a nation to open the Strait of Hormuz, allow oil and allow fertilizer and allow all the other goods that pass through open. Like it's a huge win-win. It's a massive win-win. China's being very clever. They know that they can't be directly confrontational with any Western country if they want to earn trust. The West is still very racist toward Chinese people. Any misstep will unearth hatred. Absolutely. Feels like China has invested more in stability and trade maxing than becoming a global hegemon. So I think they would rather see this end than continue on forever. Just my read. Personally, I think that the way that China sees it is they're going to go with whatever is the most profitable, social capital wise, not literal capital wise. And it is a win-win for both. They're definitely in the do nothing win mode right now. All right, continuing. I have been fully debriefed by Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner on the meeting that took place in Islamabad through the kind and very competent leadership of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif of Pakistan. They are very extraordinary men and continuously thank me for saving 30 to 50 million lives in what would have been a horrendous war with India. I always appreciate hearing that. The amount of humanity spoken of is incomprehensible. It is so funny to talk about this when at the time of the agreement between India and Pakistan, both parties agreed that Trump and America was not at that table. The ceasefire agreement and the peace talks and the diplomatic talks, the U.S. wasn't even involved at all in any of those talks. And after the fact, they were like, yeah, we thank you so much, Trump. You were great. You really helped when you did. Let me scratch out nothing here. A lot. Sure, whatever strokes your ego, man, okay? Modi even denied it initially. Yeah, and then he later said, because every world power, or not every world power, every world leader knows that they have to suck up to Trump so that Trump doesn't decide to like rescind aid or stop trade or raise tariffs. Okay, continuing. The meeting with Iran began early in the morning, lasted throughout the night, close to 20 hours. I could go into great detail and talk about how much that has been gotten. But there is only one thing that matters. Iran is unwilling to give up its nuclear ambitions. In many ways, the points that were agreed to are better than than us. Continuing our military operations to conclusion, but all of those points don't matter compared to allowing nuclear power to be in the hands of such volatile, difficult, unpredictable people. Are you talking about yourself, bro? I'm not going to lie, if you live in the United States, or you live anywhere in the world, this is like the worst time. This is actually the worst time for nuclear weapons to be in existence. It's like, I sure hope Trump doesn't randomly decide to nuke anyone. Let's continue. My 3 representatives, as all of this time went by, became, not surprisingly, very friendly and respectful of Iran's representatives, Mohammed is it Bagher? Ghalibaf, Abbas Aragachi, and Ali Bagheri, but that doesn't matter because they were very unyielding as to the single most important issue. As I have always said right from the beginning and many years ago, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Bruh, you know what would have been crazy if we had like some type of agreement, some type of nuclear agreement with Iran that allowed us to look at all of their nuclear capabilities, all of their nuclear facilities at any time we wanted and prevented enrichment. Wow. Above, like, what was it, 20%? It was impossibly low. Wow, if only we had an agreement like that. Man. If only. Too bad Iran would never have signed anything like that under any president ever. Please stop making sense. Americans hate when you do that. You're right. You're so right. I'm sorry.
J.D. Vance, the U.S. Vice President, is due to speak soon.
To the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Sir, Nick Robertson from CNN. Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we've negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Was there a framework on anything? And also, did the Iranian frozen assets come up? And did you reach any conclusions on those frozen assets?
We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston.
Mr. Vice President, how often did you communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations? There were reports that there were multiple rounds where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said fell short?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication.
Do you think he just demanded surrender and offered nothing? Well, Iranian officials, I don't remember if it was the Iranian president or somebody else. I'm blanking on the exact person. Iranian officials literally said that they don't want Jared Kushner and they don't want Witkoff. They would much rather speak to J.D. Vance, which is very comical until you remember J.D. Vance killed the Pope. No, I'm just kidding. Not about that. Until you remember that J.D. Vance actually is like a massive cuck and he will be reasonable. Like, he's not going to come into an agreement or into talks and immediately assume, like, yeah, we are going to get what we want. He doesn't have, like, the ego that Trump has. J.D. Vance is a very malleable person. It's why he's vice president, even though he called Trump Hitler, years ago. There's a reason Iran actually does want to talk to J.D. Vance, and it's because J.D. Vance isn't going to go in there and, he's going to go in there and say, listen, Trump wants this and this and this and this. How much of this are we reasonably capable of getting? I'm not an idiot. I get it. You guys are your own country and you need to do what you need to do. And that's why Trump, also the reason why J.D. Vance hasn't said anything about Iran, hasn't said anything about the Strait of Hormuz, hasn't said anything about the oil prices, hasn't said anything about any of that stuff. And it's not just because Connor Eats Pants keeps ratioing the shit out of him. It's because he knows he can't argue any of that stuff. J.D. Vance doesn't really engage in the, you give J.D. too much credit. No, I mean, I don't think calling someone a bootlicker and calling someone a cuck is giving them too much credit. I think he just knows his place and he understands that he doesn't get to do what Trump does. Trump will straight up just lie about literally everything and then say, you guys are the ones committing war crimes while the U.S. is committing war crimes. You guys, we're going to close the Strait of Hormuz while they're the ones closing the Strait of Hormuz. You guys have no capabilities, no military capabilities, while the U.S. has been getting absolutely fucking railed by some fucking $7,000 drones, and we're losing $100 billion radar systems. J.D. Vance recognizes that he can't just lie directly to the people he's supposed to be in negotiations with and say, well, you guys we destroyed everything, so you should just give us what we want. I think he was meant to fall on this sword. Trump wanted him to fail the negotiations. I've also seen this theory that like Trump sent JD Vance to the negotiation table with demands that couldn't be met to allow JD Vance to fail. I guess I'm not seeing the long-term strategy on that. Yeah, saying Vance isn't insane, like Trump isn't really giving Vance credit. Yeah, I'm just saying that like Vance is a lot closer to the average establishment Republican, where they're down for war crimes, they're down for making the American people live worse lives. They're just not insane. He's just not an insane person who thinks that he just needs to get what he wants no matter what, like a little baby. Also doesn't have fucking dementia, also doesn't ramble about how great he is and how he got these amazing pens or whatever. Strategy is always getting the blame to be anyone but Trump. That's the whole point. Sure, but I feel like he would send someone other than Vance, because I don't feel like Vance would... Oh, hi, Meerkat. Dude, the back of my chair is so fucked up. Meerkat has destroyed the back of my chair. He has absolutely demolished the back of my chair. It's just covered in holes. But it's okay if it makes him happy. I can always get more covers. Oh, who's a good Meerkat? Yes, you are. Yes. Meerkat, what do the people want? Mao. Correct again, Meerkat. Yes. That is what they want. It's what the people demand. All right. Meerkat could have gotten a deal done. Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
Straight up removed.
Are we going back to war, sir?
Okay, that was the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance talking after a marathon 21 hours, he said, of discussions with the Pakistan negotiating team and with Iran, and essentially saying that after those 21 hours, unfortunately, they are now leaving Pakistan with no deal. We go back to the U.S. without a deal. Let's go straight to Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javed, who is in the Pakistani capital near the venue of those talks. So there we go. That is the outcome of these talks. What did you take away from that statement from the U.S. Vice President?
Well, it appears that after all of the effort that was put in, there is no deal. There is an understanding on the table that you can take out from that statement, that there is something on the cards that the Vice President...
Do you think the ceasefire will continue? No. I think that there is no ceasefire. And there never was a ceasefire. The entire purpose of saying that there's a ceasefire was to pretend like Trump had a reason for not nuking Iran after making such an insane tweet saying that we need a deal done by Tuesday. There never was. It was just, it was always a joke. It was always fiction.
says that is their best and final offer. And I think that is something...
Yeah, the ceasefire narrative was created to get Trump out of the Holocaust Declaration. Correct. Absolutely correct. 100% correct. The only correct answer. You can't make a tweet that says, or a Truth Social post or whatever, as the president of the United States, you can't say an entire civilization will be destroyed. Open the Strait of Hormuz, you bastards, you crazy bastards. You guys better have a fucking deal done by 8 p.m. And then just say, psych. Psych. So we had to pretend like they got something out of it. The United States got something out of it by saying that there was a ceasefire when there was no fucking ceasefire. There never was a ceasefire. They also probably wanted some time to replenish their stuff, get ready for future operations. I mean, that would be true of both sides as well.
Which would, if you were an optimist, giving you some hope that there is still the negotiations
We have to add, inshallah, sorry.
process is not dead. I was speaking to a source just before we heard that the vice president is going to be making a statement. And they told me that, well, the good thing is that there is no breakdown, but the bad thing is that there is no breakthrough. And according to the vice president, well, the bad thing is that they're leaving without a deal. During these talks, it was never going to be easy. We were hearing from various diplomats, various sources, and there was very little concrete information coming out. So there was the first round, then the second round. So we believe there were about 5 rounds, and after every single one of them, there were exchanges of notes between these two sides. So it appears that there is some sort of a wider framework that both sides have come towards. I think there is a proposal and a counter proposal from what we gather from JD Vance, and there's not been an agreement. So now we'll have to see what the Iranians have to say about it, because the sources that we were speaking to during the day, they were of the view that the United States is asking for maximalist positions, especially when it came to the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians are not willing to budge on that, and they say that they've been talking about multiple issues, including the nuclear program, including their influence in the region, including other issues regarding the economics of all of this, because the Iranians have been insistent about an asset unfreeze from the United States as well. So it appears that there has been some movement, because if they were to break down completely, that would have happened much earlier. So going in, you heard from Bagher Kalibaf saying that this is only going to be successful if there is an asset unfreeze and the issue of the Lebanese ceasefire. That has not transpired. We believe from our sources that there is some indication of an agreement with Israel that it is not going to bomb the capital Beirut, and is going to continue its operations in the south. But again, this is all drip information that we were getting from some sources. So we'll have to wait and see on the Iranian version of events. And then obviously the interlocutors who were the Pakistanis, diplomats that I've been speaking to tell me that there's been tremendous effort that has been put into just bringing these sides to the table. A historic day where they, for the first time since the 1979 revolution in Iran, were able to bring such high level people face to face with each other.
Osama, what should we read into the fact that no mention was made of whether there will be any more talks, when there might be more talks? Do we take that as a positive sign or a negative sign?
Well, it will all depend on the other side, because right now we've heard from the Americans, and JD Vance is leaving by saying this is their best and final offer. So there is an offer on the table. I think that we can take away from it. Now, he's saying that they were not able to make progress because it appears that they have not moved from that offer that they made. So whether this was an offer that they came with to begin with, whether this was an offer that transpired during those multiple rounds of negotiations, where there was a give and take from the sources that we were talking to in the government, they were telling us that there is their push is that unless there is a compromise, unless both sides are willing to give and take.
And what exactly is the U.S. giving in this conversation? Genuinely. Because the U.S. is not going to pay for reparations. The U.S. is not going to apologize. The U.S. is not going to rebuild the schools that they broke down. What the fuck is the U.S. providing in these negotiations? Go ahead. Give us nothing, colonizers. They're going to give us unreasonable demands. Oh, so true. What do you think the Gulf Oinkies will do after Trump announcing he will close the Gay of Hormuz? Nothing, because they know that it's all just like posturing.
These things cannot move forward. And there was no expectation of a major breakthrough here today because of, you remember how long it took for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, where experts and politicians and nuclear scientists poured over every single line. So it appears that the diplomacy is not dead, but as in the words of the U.S. Vice President, it is unfortunate that they are leaving without a deal.
Okay, Osama, we'll leave it there. Osama bin Javed there for us in Islamabad. I just want to recap for anyone who might be joining us right now what we heard there from the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who, after those marathon talks in Pakistan to bring together a deal between Iran and the U.S., announced that there was no result in an.
If you guys don't mind a little bit of self-harm, can I please see the Fox News coverage on Trump closing the Strait of Hormuz?
Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so. The president.
No, the the axis of Epstein failed on their side of the ceasefire, so there is no ceasefire, so there is no Strait of Hormuz opening. Maybe if Israel could just stop for 2 seconds, for just 2 fucking seconds, if they could just stop killing civilians in Lebanon, maybe just for like 2 fucking seconds, the Strait of Hormuz would be open. Maybe the United States, I don't know, should leverage any of their financial power over Israel at all, ever, and get them to stop murdering innocent people in Lebanon. Maybe. Wasn't the Strait open like 6 weeks ago? What happened?
President writes, this caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. They say they put mines in the water, even though all of their Navy and most of their mine droppers have been completely blown up. So there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. Effective immediately, the president states, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. We will also begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell. The president writes, Iran knows better than anyone how to end this situation, which has already devastated their country. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Khomeini and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. The blockade will begin.
I have to say, my favorite thing about pretending like the leaders are dead is just ignoring the fact that we killed the old Khomeini, and then it was the person who took on the role was his son, who was more extremist than he was. It's just, has Trump considered more tariffs? I hear it's the best economic weapon ever. I guess I didn't think about that. I guess I just didn't consider that at all.
Shortly, other countries will be involved with this blockade. Iran will not be allowed to profit off this illegal act of extortion. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. President Donald J. Trump.
Truly an extraordinary move by the president that follows on a lot of extraordinary moves by the president, recognizing that these are international waterways, and for 47 years you've had the mullahs of Iran holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage, holding the entire world hostage because of a weird little crook in the Strait of Hormuz that dives deep into Iranian territory that allows them to control 20%.
You mean economic leverage? You mean the thing that the United States always boasts about having?
Of the world's oil and gas supply. And President Trump has called their bluff. He has basically captured the hostage and says, no more. You're not going to do it. And I predict that other countries that rely on that oil and gas more than the United States does, are going to come around and realize that this is probably the only way forward.
So Iran felt like they had the upper hand, that they had leverage.
They still have leverage.
By trying to take this strait. And
take the states theirs. This would be like saying the United States is trying to take leverage by not selling our excess crude oil. What's something America produces a lot of? I know America doesn't really produce and manufacture a lot. Largest export. Okay. So I didn't realize how much. I didn't realize it was so much more than anything else. I was just, taking a guess. This would be like saying the United States is unfairly using its leverage as a world power in exporting oil, and therefore this is unlawful and wrong for them to do that. What?
They had the upper hand, that they had leverage by trying to take this straight. And
How could the U.S. take their own oil and refuse to sell it? What? It's wrong of the United States to take over the Mississippi River, the thing that is already a U.S. territory? What the fuck are we? What are we talking about? I just want to know what we're talking about. What the fuck are we talking about? Baby brain fox shit like normal. They had the upper hand after we gave it to them, and they did something we never thought they would do, aka the thing that they said they were going to do immediately.
in a, as they always 1,394 square mile center of that strait, where hundreds of tankers are passing every day, they have allegedly mined it. Reports are that they don't even know where the mines are. They put it there, thus redirecting any traffic that went through to come through Iranian waters, to which they made them pay a toll. Those are the ships the president's going to go after. But this decision to begin effective immediately blockading ships going in and out is a indication that Iran never had the leverage that they thought they had. As we send in 2 destroyers into the strait to begin the mine clearing conditions, and now blockading it to render Iran's leverage really useless, that they can't affect it. Now, this goes back, by the way, to have full context of it.
The thing is, even if the U.S. is blockading the few ships that are passing, this doesn't remove Iran's capabilities to continue blocking the strait for everybody else that wasn't passing. It weakens their leverage a little, but not. It's like delusional to assume that this is anything more than just a little bit of leverage lost.
Because the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea says that no bordering country to any strait, let alone Hormuz, can control it, let alone charge any sort of toll. And so the president's decision here is not only a reaction as a last resort to the fact that Iran won't play by the international law of the sea, but also you just had on April 7th, the United Nations held a resolution to basically open it up and tell Iran they could not do what they were doing, and it was vetoed by Russia and China. And so ultimately, this isn't just about Iran anymore. This is now also about China, who receives 80% or more of these oil tankers.
There's something so rich about the United States talking about the law. When has the U.S. ever given a shit about international law? Genuinely.
Going to them. 90% go to Asian countries.
The most amazing thing about talking about international law is that the United States, every time that there's any vote, I got the meme. Anytime there's literally any vote on any resolution, it always looks exactly like this. Should breathing be a human right? UN vote. And it's every single country but 2 saying yes. And guess which 2 are saying no? It would be funny if it wasn't so accurate. It'd be like, should slavery be legal? Every single country says no. The 2 countries saying yes. Everyone agrees that this thing that is bad is bad? Well, the axis of Epstein disagree.
Countries, and it is backfiring as shipping of energy starts heading east.
And this also
towards the U.S.
This forces countries like China to suddenly wake up and recognize that, wait a minute, we have to participate in this and clear the strait.
Do you remember after the successful mission rescuing the second airman, the downed Wizzo, Director Ratcliffe came out and spoke along with General Kane and Secretary of War Hegseth. And the director said, you know, we have the best military in the world. We have the best agency. We have the best intelligence, bar none on the battlefield, better described than I'm paraphrasing right now. But he said, but none of that matters. And all of that flies out the window without a commander-in-chief who has the political courage to put it into effect. And I know that's a different specific scenario than this, but I am reminded of that statement that all of our capabilities are rendered impotent and useless without a commander-in-chief and a president with the political and the geopolitical and the diplomatic vision to truly put American interests first. This issue with Iran has been a thorn in the side of America and the free world for almost 50 years. And we have seen what used to be one of our strongest allies become our definitively strongest enemy, in addition to China, over the last 50 years. And every commander-in-chief kicked the can down the road. And finally, we have...
Yep. Famously, that's exactly what happened. Every single president kicked the can down the road. If you just ignore the nuclear agreement that Obama had with Iran, if you just ignore that, then every single president, like, Obama, basically, you could just make it as he is the drone strike king, bro. I'm sorry, man. That guy was probably every single innocent brown child that got killed in the Middle East was probably like one. How do I say this in a way that isn't crude? I've been watching too much Kyle Klinsky. Orgasm for him, bro. He was getting off on knowing that there were random children and civilians that were brown that were dying in the Middle East.
The marbles are gone, people.
That deserved a marbles are gone. I'm sorry. I'm watching too much Klinsky. The silence was loud. I'm sorry. You got me, dude. You fucking got me. The marbles are gone. I'm sorry. Dark Woke Commander had an effect on me. My bad. My bad. What was I trying to say? Trump moving to hold the straight? How long until the article comes out that he funneled every penny to his accounts? At this point, if you think Trump isn't doing things always actively to profit, personally to profit, you might be an idiot. You might actually be an idiot. Isn't it crazy, guys, that, like, maggots are allowed to vote? Like, their vote is worth as much as yours. These people who literally, Trump could, like, fuck their wives, kill their children, like, burn their homes down, and they're like, well, I'm sure he had a good reason for doing that. I trust Trump. I trust him. And I know he's doing what's right. For maybe my children were Hamas. Maybe there were tunnels under my house. So it was good that he did that. It was good that he did that.
The marbles are gone, people.
Like, MAGA votes might be worth even more because they can be counted as two. Wait, why? But the Dow, I don't understand why he even wants more money. He can already buy anything. Well, he wants attention and power and fame. You have to think about it the same way that you think about, like, someone like Asmongold, who spends none of his money on anything ever, lives like a fucking peasant, like a fucking, not even like a, no, I'm sorry, excuse me. Peasants lived better than he does. Lives like a Resident Evil creature. He has no need for money. He just needs attention and love from people on the internet. That's it. And it would be one thing to use the attention to make money so that you can retire, because I think that's how a lot of creators and a lot of people on the internet use it. It's like everyone on the internet is looking for some level of attention for their bank account. But it's another thing to do it because you just desperately need the attention. You don't even want to do it for money. You don't even want to do it to make the world a better place. You just want to do it because you're a freak. You're a freak. RE7 family is crazy. I mean, I'm just saying, dude. I'm just saying.
The sausage being made. This is not pleasant, but it's necessary.
And every president of both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, have recognized this problem, and nobody has wanted to go after it. And also, we find ourselves, President Trump finds himself in a situation where you have the United Nations and NATO completely feckless.
Why do they say NATO like that?
Completely incapable of recognizing the importance and the wisdom of actually going after this problem and clearing the problem once and for all. For decades, you've had countries in fights with proxies of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, where they've played all these games. Iran has funded all of them. Nobody has funded more weaponry that has killed American soldiers and probably soldiers of other countries, with the exception of, outside of Ukraine, since World War II, than Iran.
I personally would argue that actually the U.S. was the one that was funding all of the countries that now have the weapons that are being used to kill and have been used to kill Americans. But, maybe that's just like maybe we just disagree there on reality. But,
Iran is the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism around the world. And
guys, did you know if you repeat something enough, it doesn't become true? But some idiots will still believe you?
President Trump says, you know what? I'm not fighting with the proxies anymore.
I'm going to cut the head off the snake. If we could put that map up again of the strait, because I think what's really fascinating in the president's truth, and there you see it. In the blue is that main roughly 1,400 square mile area that you would have normal shipping routes going through. Now, Iran has said that's dangerous. There's mines in there. In that hazardous area, you see it blocked with the red lines going across, forcing ships to go through the red area, which are these shipping routes that Iran is apparently charging tolls for. And the president,
and those red areas are the Iranian territorial waters.
Correct. Those are the new shipping routes that Iran has forced ships to go through because you can't go through the normal passageway. That is the violation of the law of the sea created by the United Nations Convention. And that is why President Trump is taking this step of blockading the ships. But what's fascinating is he says in his True Social, in capital letters, this is...
Sorry, the law of the sea, the law of the sea is that you can't have enforced shipping routes in your... What? Huh? Did I enter One Piece world? What the fuck are we? Bro was talking about Poseidon. What is he talking about?
World extortion.
Yeah, bringing up international law violation. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays out.
And that's exactly the point that he's making. No country can take a international shipping route, take it hostage, attempt to, and redirect ships through their waterways, which is Iranian, close to shore is Iranian waterways, right? And charge a toll. And this is, I would say once this blockade begins, the end, even short-term result is going to be a abject failure on Iran's part to attempt to take this strait hostage. We had earlier this morning, Tom Sauer, a retired Lieutenant Navy commander that was in Navy EOD, and he talked about the minute.
I can't believe a country would use economic power and economic leverage to get what is beneficial for their country. Thankfully, the United States has never done that with anything like, I don't know, tariffs. Thankfully.
Women that are going in on the Peterson and the Murphy, the two destroyers you saw on that map, they're now going in to start clearing the mines and start paving conditions. There you go. The USS Peterson and the Murphy have gone in. He said he was actually begging Admiral Cooper to send him because this is what they've trained for their entire life. He said the plan to do something like free a strait, like the Hormuz Strait, has been around for decades.
It has to be freed. It must be liberated. Dude, the colonizer speak is crazy, man.
Decades.
Trey joined us earlier saying two salient points, one of which was the veracity of the Iranian statement about the mines. So as you see on that map, essentially it's the threat of the mine in that the lined area that then forces the ships into the area where Iranians can then extort them, right? So how do we believe them, right? That's part of the threat. And the other point he made that was so salient was that he's saying that the peace talks are, they're unfortunately we're not successful. Unfortunately for Iran.
Right.
Because we can do this all day.
So I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our...
We can do this all day. Meanwhile, Trump, please open the strait. Please, 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 please open it, please. Meanwhile, Iran, yeah, we're good. We're good on opening it, bro. We're good. We're good. Bye, America. Strait closed for 6 weeks. Solution. Let's block the strait. The solution? This kind of feels like a Nathan Fielder skit or like a Nathan Fielder bit. Like, problem. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Solution. We close the Strait of Hormuz as well. Okay. I don't think that's going to play out correctly, but sure. You know what? Why not?
We've got team coverage with Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson.
To be honest, I'll take any Fox News coverage as long as it doesn't have Jesse, I slashed my wife's tires, waters.
In Islamabad, and Fox News chief correspondent Trey Hinks in Tel Aviv, Israel. Lucas, we begin with you.
Aisha, Vice President J.D. Vance became the most senior U.S. official to meet an Iranian delegation in nearly half a century. But he left here without a deal to end the war.
The simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon.
Guys.
After negotiations that lasted throughout the night, the vice president left Pakistan early this morning. He made no mention of the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran says it fully controls. Another area of disagreement, sanctions relief. Iranian officials downplayed the significance of the high-level talks.
One should not have expected that we could reach an agreement in a single session. I don't think anyone had such an expectation.
While negotiations were ongoing, President Trump also appeared to downplay them.
We'll see what happens. Look, regardless, we win. Regardless what happens, we win.
I like how he's just giving away the game. By the way, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm just going to say we're going to win. Even if we're totally losing, we're winning. Even if we lost completely, we won.
Totally defeated that country. Whether we make...
Guys, is this the female version of Hassan Piker? First of all, I'd like to say no, this is Patrick. But I would like to give a honorary mention to this answer. No, Hassan is the Moid version of Denim.
Deal or not makes no difference.
With the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier strike group heading into theater, along with thousands of Marines in the Pacific, additional forces will be on station when the ceasefire expires next week. And for now, no time or place has been set for a potential relaunch of the talks.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming.
Dude, where's Brian Kilmeade? Fuck you.